Never before in history has a government taken these type of draconian measures. They may be slaves of someone behind them who tells them, you do this. That is what I suspect. People who now reach 35 years of age, they are poorer and earn less than their parents. The government no longer represents people. Government is evil. The economies, maybe for a while, it looks better, but in the long run, it will lead to disaster.
Marc Faber is a famous Swiss investor based in Thailand that I've followed for years. He is the publisher of the Gloom, Boom and Doom Report newsletter. Faber has made himself very wealthy and is well known for his contrarian investment calls. He warns that no traditional assets are safe and gives us his time-tested thoughts on the state of the economy. If you're concerned about the future, make sure to watch this essential highlight video until the end. Marc reveals the riskiest asset to be in long term, and I can guarantee at least part of your portfolio has this in it. Can you guess?
I'm not saying everybody. In the US and in Europe, we have statistics that show that people who now reach 35 years of age, they are poorer and earn less in real terms, inflation adjusted, than their parents. So I think we have to consider that if we have this move to the left, that to my surprise, young people they want the government to do more. They want the government to regulate more and to intervene more. With all this move to the left, we will have very disappointing economic growth rates, and the standards of living of most people who follow these left-wing policies that lead to disaster, economic and social disaster, that these policies are, of course, ill-conceived and should be rethought very carefully by the voters. The government doesn't do anything that the voters want. The government is an own institution. The bureaucrats take measures that voters mostly wouldn't want to have implemented. So let's leave the government out. The government no longer represents people. The government is evil. The economies, maybe for a while, it looks better because of money printing and fiscal deficits, but in the long run, it will lead to disaster. I would say that the majority of people, say more than 50%, they had now price increases of food, energy, healthcare, educational costs, rents, and the affordability that went down. In other words, they had cost increases of the cost of living that vastly exceeds their wage gains. Vastly, their standards of living will go down. The standards of living of people like Jeff Bezos, and I'm not criticizing him, I'm just stating the standards of these people of living is vastly increasing because their companies are doing very well in an environment where you're closing down small shops.
I hope you're not already panicking. Next up, Marc goes deep on the follow-on effects of the draconian measures of the last few years. Hit the like button and subscribe to get immediate notification of tomorrow's video, where Raoul Pal reveals which sectors of the economy will explode over the next few years and which will shrink.
These academics that are overpaid and do nothing and know nothing, that these academics will tell the people, well, we didn't print enough. I guarantee you this is going to be the case. There may be slaves of someone behind them who tells them, you do this. That is what I suspect. It's difficult to envision a situation where the US dollar would collapse against other currencies. You understand? If it collapsed against, say, European currencies or the Japanese yen and so forth, then maybe there would be pressure on the US to actually tighten by the international holders of government bonds in the US. That could be essentially the case. But the other central banks do the same. They also print money. And so what we will have is a depreciation of paper money overall in the world, not just in the US, but overall, people who hold cash. When I grew up, in my grandfather's household, what was safe is to hold cash with a bank. Nowadays, to hold cash is not safe because your deposit rates, say 6 months deposit rates in the US, are less than 0.5%, and the inflation, as the government publishes, is more than 4%. So you have negative real interest rates of more than 3.5%. But this is what the government is publishing. The reality is that the inflation at the present time, and I'm not saying it will continue forever at this rate, it may accelerate, it may come down, but at the present time, inflation in the US, depending on your situation in life, is being, say, between 4.5% to 10%, in my view. The government, you may look at me with big eyes about sending people to camps. Well, they already closed your business. They closed. Millions of people in the world lost their small shop, lost their hairdresser salon, the tattoo salon, everything. These were small entrepreneurs that don't have a lot of capital behind them. And so they lost their jobs. They lost their businesses. Small restaurants, coffee shops, everything. Never before in history has a government taken these type of draconian measures. And this in a system that claims, oh, we have democracy and therefore we have freedom. BS. The democracy was hijacked and has restricted people's freedom.
Hot off the press is Cathie Wood with the latest data suggesting the Fed has over-tightened and a massive recession is on our doorstep. You can't miss it. Click the video to watch now.